There we go. Thank you. That's good. Welcome to this week's live stream in the quad. Before I let any of you in to join in the video, I'd like to speak for a second about what we're doing here, because I know some people who've come here, maybe got invited by friends, you told it was a good thing, or maybe you weren't quite sure why you're here. So we're going to talk about the first step here at the college. First step is removing our suffering, and this is critical for being able to advance into the advanced classes. So expanding your intuition and your ability to manifest, your ability to interact with, perceive, and otherwise sense subtle energies. Those things are possible, but not until you remove your suffering, because your suffering is an incredible distraction from your abilities. And to explain that specifically today, first, I'd like to define what suffering is. Because suffering, when we are stressed out, and by stress I mean an event, a problem, something to solve, or something unsolvable, something overwhelming, something that's happening right now, right? We get stressed out, we have a car accident. That's stressful, right, as it happens. Suffering is the story you tell yourself about the stress later. So maybe when you were young, 15, this person who you believed you were in love with unexpectedly ended the relationship. And that, at a young age, can be devastating. So, that is very stressful. You don't know what to do. That's the event of the breakup and the sudden disconnection, right? That's stressful. The next day, however, or even a few hours later, when your mind starts telling you what it means and what the future is going to look like now and how it's going to impact you negatively, all of these stories, that is suffering. Now, I understand where suffering comes from. I understand why we suffer. I understand why you personally suffer. Now, I don't maybe know exactly what you suffer for, but I understand exactly why your mind replays that stuff. And, and it keeps you distracted from your ability to connect and know what's going on and impact what's going on in the world around you. So, two things that happen at the school. In first semester, the first class, well, it's really the second class, the play shop, you learn how and why your body holds on to stress and then replays it to create suffering. And what you do for yourself on your own time and at your own pace is you unravel why that happens. I've created a simple exercise you learn in the play shop. It takes you a few seconds every day. And in these few seconds every day, you start to peel off the layers of why you are suffering, until eventually your body gets it. Kind of like practicing to ride a bike, and then one day suddenly, boom, your body just gets it and you don't have to think about it anymore. You can just ride your bike and have a lot of fun. That's what happens with the play shop. That's part one. There's another part to suffering, though, and that comes in second semester. The first class of second semester is energy works, because there's an issue here about control. Because when we're depressed or when we're otherwise suffering for things in our history, there's a control there. The energy is coming at us, right? These stories come at us. It's our chatterbox replays the nonsense, and we have to listen to it. We are like being held hostage by our history and by our suffering. It's terrible. And with energy works, you learn how to reverse that flow. So you actually gain much greater control over your mind. And in fact, the idea, well, energy works teaches you about moving energy in all kinds of ways. However, when you complete energy works, and if you apply the principles, it can be relatively easy to find silence and to create silence within your body. My program does not necessarily help with stress. And many people, myself included, will report that, yeah, when stress happens, it's still stressful, but it's not as stressful as it used to be. Once the stress is over, we just don't suffer anymore. And that's just an incredible freedom, and there's no way really to describe that freedom other than to say, well, all the time that I used to spend suffering, I now use to feel connected and to get a better handle on what's going on in the world around me, and also to impact it. Because, maybe you read The Secret, was that 20 years ago when that book came out? There's been a lot of really good books that have come out, but The Secret, which I really get into in second semester, is that your imagination is incredibly powerful, and its power, though, is diminished by your suffering, because your suffering is such an incredible distraction that actually it even pulls in your imagination, and then you start imagining that you're suffering, and now there's like this convoluted pile. Now, my program's not really meant for people who are really stuck and depressed and need therapy. Like this isn't the place to come for that. But if you notice that every once in a while your mind glitches, or if every once in a while you get stuck suffering for something that happened to you a long time ago, come do this program, and very quickly, and I mean by doing this exercise for just seconds a day, usually within a couple of days you feel relief. Within a couple of weeks you feel about 50% relief, and it feels like amazing relief because you've never felt so non-suffering before. And as long as you don't quit, as long as you continue, it does take 3 to 6 months. But the exercise is second nature, and where it becomes second nature, and it only lasts a few seconds, so it's not a big chunk of your day. One day after a few months, you're going to wake up and the world is going to feel different, and you're going to feel different about yourself. You'll feel different about being alive. You'll feel more connected to everything, and you'll also notice that there's silence between your ears. And if you'd like to, you can create some suffering for some old stress that happened in your past. My history is littered with very stressful situations that I used to suffer for tremendously. And I can still suffer for them, but I don't choose to. You'll wake up one day and things are just different. So you might notice more colors, which is something that happened for me, but I also noticed a lot more love in the world. And I lost some of the fears I had about speaking with strangers. So, as long as the body language is relatively clean, I'll speak to anybody, and that's a lot of fun. That's a lot of fun, and I hope that's something that happens for you too. Because this school, the results that it gets are essentially that we increase our sense of connection, which means you feel connected to strangers. And you learn about body language and how to feel your body and how to know what's going on. And so you might tune into a stranger and notice, oh, I could probably get along with this person, or they've got information I need, or whatever it is. And you can just talk to them, and they might be surprised at first, but they'll enjoy talking to you too. And those sorts of connections, the interpersonal connections, are really what this college is about. To get there, though, you really get to just take care of your suffering. And if you look at the math of what you suffer for, you get to realize that the things you suffer for aren't happening anymore. They might feel like they're happening, and I understand why that is too, which you will learn and unravel. But intellectually, you've got to understand that thing that happened 10 years ago, that your partner breaking up with you, or you crashing the car, or losing your job, or whatever it is, abuse, whatever it is, it happened. It's over, past tense, and you still feel it like it's still happening right here today. That is a glitch, and I'll prove to you that it's a glitch. If it wasn't a glitch, you wouldn't be able to fix it. I've got the tools to fix it, and I don't fix it for you. I don't want to be responsible for you that way. I will give you the tools so that you can fix it for yourself, so that when your stresses are over, they're just over. And I've been through wildfires. Like, I had to grab my cat, wake up my neighbors, pack my car, and drive a couple miles through a burning neighborhood twice. And You know, the first time it happened, it was like a week before I realized I wasn't bothered by it anymore. But the second time it happened, I mean, the very next day, there was zero residual stress. I was not suffering. It was just, oh, there's a fire yesterday. Okay, let's pick up our lives and move forward. And that sounds weird, maybe, if you've never experienced it. It was fantastic, which is why I like talking about it. And that's when I realized, you know, how freeing this work is. And that's when I realized how amazing the play shop information is. It took me 30 years to unravel why suffering happens and how we can unpack it so that it doesn't happen for us, because it's not a hardware glitch, it's a software glitch. And the good news is that you own your software. You can change the program and do whatever you like with it. And you know, this program I have, it's no different than learning how to ride a bicycle. You know, if you choose to learn how to end your suffering, you can do the play shop and get through it. So the ybnlcollege.com, you know, you're here, you are a member, which means that you can purchase the play shop. It's currently, I believe, $75. Next year it's going to be $400, and it will include a live class. There's also scholarships available. So, you know, you can go to the Ombudsman's office and go to the feed there and look for the scholarship post. It's not hard to find. I think it's tagged to the top. So, and, you know, get your scholarship. That's for people who truly can't afford it. But, you know, I keep it as cheap as possible. There are facilitators here. So when you've got questions or something's not working for you, make sure you reach out and talk to us. We're available basically 24/7. But you reach out, and then sometimes you might have to wait a couple hours for a response if we're sleeping. But we're not only in California. We also have a facilitator in England. So there is an 8-hour time difference, which gives us, you know, a rather good coverage for when people have questions. Now, let's see if anybody would like to join the live stream. Okay, so welcome. Let me just shut down this other video because I think I might actually just put it on YouTube. The world needs to know that we're getting rid of our suffering here. And it hit me the other day again when, you know, I asked somebody, well, are you suffering anymore? And they said, oh, no, not at all. And it's so matter of fact and mathematically makes so much sense that, you know, once you do the program, it's not like this magical, amazing thing that you've got to tell everybody about. You're just like, oh, that's cool. I'm not suffering anymore. And your memories open up too. Like, you remember a lot more from your childhood than you probably do now. You know, if you've had a lot of, you know, impactful traumatic incidents in your life, there's a lot of them, it just gets hard to remember back behind them. But that opens up, which is another kind of secondary benefit. So you're here, do the play shop, and get your questions done, because this place of non-suffering, it's way fun, and I'd like to have more people in the circle, you know, to enjoy each other. All right, thanks a lot. Let me get this, let me get the group going on the live stream here, and we'll say goodbye to the YouTube audience. Thanks a lot. Okay, who's here?